Welcome back to the Super Tuesday recap. This is your host, Kriss and Dpalm here, and we might be joined by a third Jeff from the Nonstop Culture podcast in a bit. We're here, unfortunately, to review Season 3, Episode 23 of this season of The Flash, Finish Line. With nothing left to lose, Barry takes on Savitar in an epic conclusion. And I will say whoever wrote this has a different definition of epic than I do. I don't know. Where you want to start, man? Like,
boo. Boo.
Look, man. What the fuck was that?
And the thing is, and we've talked about it all season, thematically, I know what they were going for. And I think thematically, near the end, they kind of pull some of it off. However, the methods with which you approach that theme were off base is being gentle.
Look, man. Everybody knows I love The Flash. I love the show, right? I love most of these comic book shows. I defend them. I'm way more generous on things like this. This is why I ride for Arrow so hard. Like, people say the season 3 is awful. I still enjoy season 3 of Arrow. Like, so when I tell you that not only is this, and I take first season Supergirl out of it, and even this season Supergirl because I just have not watched it. This is probably the worst finale I've seen on the CW for one of their shows, and that says a lot. When last year we were so down on Legends of Tomorrow, we were questioning whether we were going to come back. We're like, man, season 4 better grab us, or we might not stick with it. They at least stuck the landing last year with their season finale. Like, even if a season is bad, these shows usually come through and stick the landing. This wasn't it. Like, you were recording the unanimous decision last night when this first started. So I think you were a little bit behind. You eventually caught up live with everybody else. But after the first 10 minutes, and you were still recording, I remember thinking to myself, this is terrible. Dpalm's going to hate this too.
I'm in shock.
Like, for everything we've been talking about with the season being bad, again, I mean, and we talked about this last, like, I'm going to start at the beginning, all right? I remember last week somebody emailed us about, hey, maybe they switched out HR and Iris. And I remember us sitting there and trying to work that out going, yeah, but that's going to be really hard to do. That's going to be really hard to make that work. Like, when would that happen? We named two places where they could have switched her out with HR, right? One was before they leave for Earth 2. There's a scene on Earth 2 last week where Joe and Iris are having their moment, and they could have said that Joe and that Iris and HR had kind of worked something out to tell people that say their goodbyes while looking like somebody else. Like, Joe and Iris have that father-daughter moment, but Iris can't remember the song.
Right.
So
you pointed that out.
Right. I was like, okay, you could do that. There's the whole feeling of when HR says goodbye to Cisco. It's like, okay, that could be HR's way of saying that through Iris saying, hey, listen, I never felt my place, but I'm gonna like that. They could have done it then. Wait, still would have been issues. Could have done that. The second time, and I said this last week, when you go back and watch that episode, when Barry and Savitar are fighting over the speed bazooka, Iris is just sitting there, and everybody's focused on Barry, the two Barrys fighting. HR could have switched out then. Now, I still have overall problems with both of those, I'll get into later, but that would at least make sense. They went with a third stupid option, which was somehow when everybody was literally on their way to Infantino Street, that somehow HR took the piece of Savitar's suit, took some kind of super speed Uber, ended up at Savitar's lair, and just tried to walk off with Iris. Nigga, what?
I don't.
Nigga, what?
Why would you? It makes no sense.
Nigga, what? Like, and again, like, they've set, and this has been the problem with this entire season. They set up little bits of pieces of things, and then they come in and they do it with a scalpel, and then they come in with a sledgehammer and try to piece them all together. So, yes, you've shown us using Savitar's suit, piece of Savitar's suit to locate Savitar. They've done it before. It was Jesse,
and they showed him looking at it last episode.
Right.
But that's it.
But here's the thing: when Jesse did,
sorry,
but when Jesse did it, one, Savitar knew because he met her there, and two, she's a fucking speedster.
Also, yes.
So how does it all of a sudden work with HR, who's a nobody? Like, this isn't even about me being upset that they killed HR. This isn't about me being upset that they did the switch. Because, again, I knew at some point Iris wasn't going to be there. I knew they didn't have that. I knew they weren't going to go that way. They should have, right. But I knew they weren't going to go that way. Fine. But if you're going to do this, make fucking sense. That makes no fucking sense. And again, this is literally everybody on their way to Infantino Street. So how did HR manage to make it back to Savitar? Who is he within walking distance of? Savitar's within walking distance of burying them. He's within walking distance of Star Labs. What? Doesn't make any fucking sense. This is.
I'm not gonna argue with you.
I'll be perfectly honest. This was almost a Glenn moment for me. A Glenn from Walking Dead. That's when I stopped watching Walking Dead because it was just like, motherfucker, that's not how that works. That like there's being comic booky, and then there's just stuff that literally you set up a bunch of other stuff, and you went with stuff that you didn't set up. That makes no sense. Jeff just joined us in there. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we literally just started, so I led with the most egregious thing because they started with this, and from there it went downhill. Because not only did you then reveal that the switch happened immediately at the beginning of the episode, now there's no emotional weight for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, I remember when you were talking about, we were talking on Twitter about it when you said he should have did the switch earlier than when he did. Because I was sitting there, legit, I've been thinking the whole day about how that worked. And it didn't. How did he know where they were? How did he get there so quick? How did Iris survive? To be honest, if Savitar is Savitar or Caitlyn, like, he just let him go. Like, okay, I have Iris and I let him go. Like, it just, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot that you're asking from me.
So
mentally.
I get that how he found her because, again, he had a piece of the suit. So, and they established that. Like, again, it feels like forever ago because the way they broke up the season, it just hasn't been consistent. But everything else you're saying is right. Like, which leads to my bigger issue. Even if he had switched the other two parts that I mentioned, how does Savitar still not know? Because if Savitar is future Barry, then not only does whatever current Barry know, whatever Barry in the future knows too, he's going to know. And they've established that before because the last time they used a piece of the suit to find Savitar didn't involve Barry. It involved Jesse, and Savitar knew she was going to be there. So this idea of, well, Savitar only knows things that Barry knows, well, not true. You've shown the other side of that. You've shown him being able to know and be a step ahead of everyone else.
You're not wrong, man. You're absolutely,
like,
absolutely
right.
right.
I mean, it's a stunned silent podcast because, honestly, I think that we thought, because you and I listened like, here are the worst things they could do, and it feels like they're listening like, let's do all of them.
They did everything. This is the one time where I'm like, oh my God, they listened to what we said, but it's like they didn't hit the part where we said, don't do this. Everything we said for them not to do, they fucking did.
Yo, what's crazy to me is, for me, that's not even the most egregious thing. That when I'm sitting and I'm thinking about the whole episode, that might not even be the main issue that I have. I think we're all caught in a paradox right now with every single thing that's going on. And, you know, listening to you guys throughout the season and I can accept certain things with the time stream and the paradoxes and everything, but the way everything unfolded, I have issues with how we got to the conclusion that we got to, just from a logical perspective. And I don't know how much logic will play into the comic booky nature of time travel, especially in this show, but that might not even be the most egregious thing for me.
Look, here's the thing. Like, Dpalm and I, we love Flash. When we did that, second character corner we ever did was Flash. Wally West. Big on time travel. That's just what it is. Big on, I even get when people go, there was an article that was like, hey, man, they got to stop using the Speed Force as just their catch-all for everything. And I admit that is a huge problem with just, not a problem, that's a huge thing of just Flash, period. All right? I get that. But even for me, as someone who's all into this, even I'm going, you guys are losing me. Like, so it's not, I don't want people to think that this is just, well, you only have to be a comic book fan. No, even if you're a comic book fan, some of the stuff just isn't done well. Like,
this is badly written Flash.
Like, right, it really is. It's these are the Flash issues that we go, yeah, we didn't read that. we didn't read that season of the Flash. Letters. Right. We didn't read that season of the Flash, To go back to what you were saying about the paradox stuff, like, and it kind of ties into what you said and what Dpalm said. Thematically, when we first started doing this season, and I remember it might have either this season or maybe the end of last season, Dpalm called us like, we're going to end season 3 with Barry sacrificing himself, and we open up season 4 with Wally West as the Flash and going there. We eventually get that, but how we get there,
nigga. And let's talk about this for a second, because please. I think on some like larger chords of the show, they actually executed pretty well. Like just without getting too much minutia right now, like the broad paintbrush of Barry deciding to move forward as well as trying to change things and accepting responsibility for his actions. That's it. That's the capstone of his 3-season arc.
Mm-hmm.
Iris being the one to pull the trigger on Two-Face Barry. Like, that's a big deal because she showed real agency. Like, that's like they talk about her owning a gun the episode prior. It's a big deal that she is the one who literally saves the day. That's a big deal and great growth for the character. Cisco being named by Barry as a leader of the team. It's his growth. Even what we thought was a false step, what actually helped him grow as a character, was Flashpoint and losing his brother. He stepped up. He's been the leader of the team for a while. He's been the Wells because the Wells they had was an asshole.
Right.
And so for broad strokes, I'm happy. The show's ending themes are in a place that I'm happy with. It's just the details are so ugly.
The execution is terrible. Like the way they got here, and the way they did it with Barry going to the speed. Again, like you said, that should be a moment when I'm just like, yes, they're doing it. They're going where we were. Like I should have been happy. I was pissed because I'm like, well, if this was going to happen, Barry, you could have sacrificed yourself to the Speed Force at the beginning of the show.
Right.
You could have put yourself in the Speed Force jail then, and it would have been done.
I actually kind of get that because this was part of he had to grow from the place where he would let Jay take his spot to a place where he knew it wasn't penance, it was more responsibility.
Oh, no. I get
taking the spot.
I get that. Like, theme-wise, I'm with you. But execution-wise,
you're right.
The way they did it, it's like, you can't help but go, nigga, why don't you... It goes back to, like, how he phased through the suit to kick Savitar out. It's like, nigga, why didn't you do that, like, I don't know, 15 episodes ago? Like, it just...
I'm sorry, brother.
No, go ahead.
Here's a bigger issue for me. We've accepted the time paradoxes, and if I do something that changes my future, that causes me not to be in existence, I'm going to disappear. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, guys. We also established that time is different in the Speed Force. It's different there. Things flow. There's different set of rules. It's almost like it is time and it's not time at the same time.
Right.
Why wouldn't you, if you knew eventually that, well, first of all, how Cisco knew the frequency to get Jay out of the Flash prison, okay, whatever. I'll even accept that. But why wouldn't you put Paradox Barry in that prison again? if he's going to be erased anyway, why not put him in there? Would he still be erased from the timeline as opposed to sacrificing yourself? That's one thing because I feel like Barry's done stupid stuff throughout the season, but this is like peak idiocy for him throughout the whole episode. Like, why wouldn't you take him and put him in the speed force?
I think I see what you're saying. I think that there was a ticking clock on that paradox.
Right.
So he was gonna and that wouldn't have. It may have been a temporary fix, but once he destabilized, you would have the same problem again.
But he would destabilize in the Speed Force too.
Well, right, but then the prison would still need someone to take that spot.
But no, they've kind of established that if he's in the prison, then I don't, like you said, they don't explain. So that goes to the larger issue with the entire episode. They just do things just to do them to kind of try to close off a storyline. And so they do that with here. So you're like, they don't really explain how this works. All of a sudden they bring Jay back in. You're like, well, how did, like, why? Okay. Wally is suddenly healed. Did anybody notice that when he popped up after HR died? All of a sudden, he just needed a few more minutes to heal. It's like, because last week, he had his leg broken, and that's why he couldn't be there. Literally, this episode, he's back up.
If he showed up later in the episode, I've been okay with it because they've established species heal faster. Just why do it then? Like what?
Again, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's the timing on some of these things.
There's so many tiny fixes, tiny little shifts that you could have fixed. Things that probably I think would solve problems, but it would make the episode a tighter watch.
Mm-hmm.
They said fuck it, man. They said and there were certain things like when I saw Wally pop up, I'm like, yo. He needs to get tested. The league needs to call him and see how he healed so quickly that he's all the way back. And it was literally throughout the episode I'm watching and it's like, yo, fuck it, just bring him back now. We'll figure it out later. And they didn't figure it out later. They just tied it up with strings of fuck it.
Yeah, they didn't. They went and they tried to tie up different and do things like I'm just gonna say it, yo. Fuck what they did with Caitlyn this episode. Because I don't even know what they were doing. First of all, last week, Dpalm and I talked about this. We thought it was kind of weird that Barry said, "Yeah, Cisco, go in and get our girl, save Caitlyn. It's the only chance you have." I'm like, well, no, because he could open up portals. You could probably just have him open up a portal and snatch fucking Iris while you and whatever. Fine, okay. But then this week. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Julian, not only has he been working on it, he has a cure because he went to Caitlyn's mom. And I'm like, when the fuck did that happen? Like, in 24 hours, you decide to work on a cure with Caitlyn's mom and you have one now? And I'm like, wait, if you had done that in an episode before, then that would make sense as to why Cisco and Barry decided to split off. Because then at least you go, okay, you have a cure, you can save her. Cisco, without that cure, Cisco is literally going to save Caitlyn by talking to her. What?
He was going on a trip to get his ass whipped.
Right. That Barry knew he was going to get his ass whipped on. That's what that kills me. Barry knows what happened to Cisco when he goes to confront Killer Frost, but still sent him on there with nothing. Then all of a sudden, this episode, all of a sudden, Julian now has a fucking cure. What? Excuse me? When did that happen? Like,
it's almost like all the writers just came together and was like, "Yo, I have this hot idea. Let's just put it all together and not tell Barry what's gonna go on until then."
Yo, this is a writer strike episode. This is an episode people wrote when they thought like they did a test strike where the writers just said, "Fuck it, we're not writing this episode," because there's no other explanation for this. Like, if you want to have, and again, there are things here that I'm okay with. Okay, fine. You want to have Julian create a cure? Fine. That's actually something, a theme that's been going on throughout the entire season. And even Caitlyn / Killer Frost kind of dug into Julian before about him not working on that, not really working on the cure. He was working on things for himself, but not really working on the cure, right? And things like that. You could at least showed us him working on it the last 2 episodes. You could have showed him struggling with it. You could have shown him taking a call from someone, but not wanting Caitlyn to hear. Like, you could have done something like that, right? They did none of that. It just all of a sudden happens. He pops up, pulls out this magical blue cure, and it's like, I got it now. We're okay. What?
Nigga, look, I'm someone who was like, I'm forgiving a lot of this episode because I got to watch 3 Flashes run together. That was dope as fuck. And then they disappeared Jay and Wally. Out.
Oh my god!
Every time I thought they were doing something right, they punch themselves in the face.
Oh my god! Like this is It was an amazing thing. Nobody. So fine. Okay, we got Wally. We somehow magically got Jay out of the Speed Force.
Which I'm willing to accept the hand wave because I got the visual of the 3 of them.
Yeah. I'm fine with that. But here's my thing. Why didn't Harry call his daughter?
Because the effects only allow for 3 speeches at once.
Okay. All right. Just saying. I'm just saying. You know, when Wally went down, I didn't see. You know, we got time to send HR on to walk to get Iris by himself, but nobody could grab. Okay, that's another thing too. Why didn't when HR got this brilliant idea? Why didn't he tell Cisco? And I still don't understand the timing of this because Cisco and Barry are literally walking out of Star Labs to go to 2 different places. Cisco's going to go meet Caitlin in the woods, and Barry's going to go meet Savitar. How the fuck did we get that entire part there with HR trying to get Iris?
HR's a speedster.
Okay.
Plot twist.
All right. Oh, there we go. You know what? That's what it was. So HR, if it wasn't HR, it was actually Wally, and Wally had used HR. Okay. Whatever. Fuck. Okay. Fuck it.
Fuck it, yo. Fuck it.
Fuck it. I think that's what they said this episode. I think they said just, fuck it. Fuck it.
Yo, do we have emails?
We got plenty of emails. Plenty of emails.
Oh, God.
It's got plenty of emails on this. Got at least 3. Hold on, let me see.
Yo, hold on, Chris. One real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Did you touch on Caitlyn becoming a queen?
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, the Oliver Queen moment Caitlyn had, where she's like, "Oh, what exactly she said?" It's like,
"I'm not Caitlyn. I'm not Killer Frost. I'm something else."
Yeah, I'm just like,
I threw my hands up.
She spent 5 years on the island.
What the fuck are you? So what are you? If you're not Caitlyn, you're not Killer Frost. What are you?
Arrow.
Frost?
Well, and that goes to the thing. So somebody else
asked questions that we watched for 5 seasons. You know who she is? She's the Arrow now.
Caitlin's gonna end up on Leon Yu in the beginning of
right.
She's right. A 5-year flashback. I used to work at Star Labs. I was trapped in hell.
Shadow, I'm sorry I couldn't save you, but I turned into Killer Frost and couldn't control myself.
I'm just saying, look, there's a show there.
And so we're not going to say, and I guess we shouldn't say anything about somehow Killer Frost being able to completely freeze Black Flash and just, okay, fuck it, whatever. All right.
No, I'm letting that happen. I'm letting that stand because she probably jerked all over the city.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Hey, you know what? Good point. Good point there. Yeah. So,
That's established a power level that I've never seen from Fox's Iceman.
Okay. You know what? I'll allow it too. You're right. Somebody, I was talking about this on Twitter. Somebody brought up the fact that, hey, we've seen Caitlyn control it before, so maybe that's what it was. And I'm like, the problem is, again, details. They've never established what was going on with Caitlyn. So when she says that the Oliver Queen shit at the end, I don't know if she's saying that metaphorically on some, it's Caitlyn, like she's back to being Caitlyn, but she can't look at herself in the mirror, so she doesn't want to come back. Or if it's really still the Killer Frost persona, but she's somehow controlling it. Or if it's a whole nother third person. Like, I don't know what she meant by that. And here's the thing. I don't think the writers know either. Because they never established how her little, whatever was going on with her, they never established what it actually was. And so all we know is she didn't take the cure from that was just magical out of nowhere, right? She didn't take that, so she still has her powers, but her eyes aren't like it. It doesn't make any sense. They never worked it. So anyway, here we go. Here are some of the emails we got here. DeAndre says, so I just watched the episode and I did what I do every time I see an episode of Flash. I ran the Twitter, looked at what you and Dpalm had to say. Both of you were not happy as you Have not been for most of the season. I hated the music episode 2 to be honest, but I was happy with this ending. But was I happy with this ending? Honestly, the whole theme of the season has been Barry as the villain, and the ending is basically him atoning for a Flashpoint and every horrible decision he has made so far leading up to this point. It makes sense for him to have to pay, and I am sure they'll figure out a way to fix him being gone in season 4. The pacing was hell for me. The comic book moments were cheesy, and I hate that they didn't stick the landing with Iris dying. I swore they would bring Patty back, to be honest, but it still felt like a Flash ending to me. Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I called the swap of HR after explosion in front of Cisco at the lab, but it did feel like a cop out. And I think theme wise, I think everything's there. Like if you go
right,
bird's eye view, theme wise, it's all there. It all works, and I'm 100% in agreement with it. Here's the thing. I'm not even mad at the HR switch out because I think that was it's an opportunity. I mean, granted, they do this thing. They've been doing this thing on the show where they get really heavy-handed with some of their showing things. So all of a sudden, the transmogrifier, or the image inducer, all of a sudden can now change an entire person's look, their voice, and their behavior. Like that's bullshit. Like when he did it with the last episode with Lila, we kind of let it slide, and we kind of knew that they might go this route because it's such a cop out because that's not how it worked the first time HR showed us this back in what was it, like episode 3 or 4 or whatever, like beginning of the season. And the other problem is they stopped making a big deal out of it. And so when you're doing something like that, like you go to a show that's good, like Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., they keep dropping subtle hints that this will play in just so it's aware in your mind. The Flash hasn't done that. They'll do something in episode 1, and then they'll completely forget about it until episode 22, and then they're going to use it again in episode 23. And it's like, yeah, guys, that's not...
And that's cheesy writing because it's one thing to say, oh, Chekhov's gun. Yeah, you show the gun in Act 25 by Act 3. But it's one thing to say, that's not Chekhov's gun. It's more like Chekhov's stapler.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no reason for that object in the beginning to be having a nefarious purpose.
Right.
But you better not forget about it. It's a you know what it is? It's a level of hiding the ball that this show generally doesn't do.
Yeah.
I think, and I'm going to keep harping on this, and people can say I'm hitting a dead horse here. It's fine. I think it's tied to the timing of the reveal. Mm-hmm. By revealing mid-season in the previous seasons, you didn't have to hide the ball. You could let the audience in on the fun.
Right.
By trying to treat the audience like we're as dumb as the Star Labs crew, it's offensive.
Yeah. Overall, this season felt like a stereotypical supermodel, flashy but hollow on the inside. I think the writers need to do better at balancing if they want to make sure they don't alienate the comic book fans and kill the casual fans with too much time travel as well. They killed it the first 2 seasons, but they tried to do way too much to me. I don't like the language about Barry being done with his race, though, because Wally doesn't seem seasoned enough. Maybe they bring it back after 6 months, like the other cliffhangers. They have a way to bring him back. Maybe the Speed Force stops being petty. Who knows? But I get your concerns, but I enjoyed the season for the most part. Really love you guys' content and reviews, and I hope you guys don't kill me too much for being a long email or for being a Flash fanboy. Hashtag blame Dpalm. Why Barry gotta die, why Barry can't be happy. Also, I wrote a long thread about how I would start up the DC movie universe, and while I was wondering if someone who I respect as far as a comic book opinion in movies would like to read it. Yeah, I think we can probably take a look at that. But going back to what you said about the time travel, I mean, this is something that me as a comic book fan, me as a Flash fan, has been bringing up that, and again, I asked the writers this last year at San Diego Comic Con. It's like, hey man, you guys are really going in the comic book. Like, how do you do that balance? And they kind of brushed it off. And I'm like, I look back at it now. I'm like, you guys shouldn't brush that off. Maybe you guys shouldn't have brushed that off because, like, I appreciate the comic book nature of this stuff. But when you have something for a general audience, you can't rely on things like time travel like they did. Like, they made too much of a mess of it. Like, you got to be.
There's something like 4 time travel shows this fall that got canceled.
Well, and not only that, but you have a time travel show on the network in Legend of Tomorrow that does it better. Yeah. And makes it more simple. And this, and again, remember, this is a Legend of Tomorrow season that brought on Eobard Thawne, who should have been dead. And the way they nailed on how he's literally trying to outrun death and outrun the paradox, it worked on Legend of Tomorrow. Like, nobody complained. That's the thing. When people go, it's too much time travel in The Flash, you got to remember, they have a time travel show. And nobody goes with Legend of Tomorrow, it's too much time travel.
Right.
Because you don't have to. I think we lost Dpalm. I think he'll come back.
No, I'm back. I'm here.
Sorry. It's weird. We go to meetings sometimes says you're offline or not. It's cool. But yeah, it's like, so that, and then the other thing I've seen from people say is the season is too long. And again, I got to push back against that too. Cause I'm like, we just had 22 episodes of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's not the length of the season. You cut this season down to 16, you had the same fucking problems. It's the
a pacing
writing
matter.
Some of it's pacing, but some of it's writing.
No, the writing was. I'm saying the pacing was the writing.
Yeah,
that's it's together.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. I'm sorry. It's just like, yeah, man. It's just a weird thing. What's the next one? Some Jada. Hey, Kriss and Dpalm. I got into CW shows because I binge watched season 1 of The Flash on Netflix. By the way, 23 episodes, season 1. People loved that. So, again, saying that it's too long of a season doesn't work. The show has literally done it before and been fine. I'm not an avid comic book reader, so I was blown away by the time travel aspect and charmed by the cast and humor. But above all else, I enjoyed watching The Flash become into his own as a superhero, which leads me to my next point. You two have touched on the evolution of Barry into The Flash and the passion, I think, last night with the culmination of that process. I believe that in true act of heroism, the Flash sacrificed this season in order to save the DC Extended Universe from being compared to a TV show. Look, when I first read this email, the switch she does in that email got me too. Like, I was reading this at work.
Well done.
I was reading this at work, and I had an audible gasp. I was like, that's the only thing I can come up with to justify that shit show of a finale. It's either that or Barry messed up the time locally, and the writer's strike that messed up so many good shows in the early 2000s is happening right now in the writer's room. The show has struggled with the typical CW issues like fillers, scheduling, and unnecessary relationship drama all along, but there's no reason for the frantic writing that episode 20 that was episode 23 of the season 3. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, there are certain things I just allow, right? I'm not big on... I don't really care that much about filler when they're done right. Like, I think filler episodes are fine when you put them in the right place. But you can't put, a musical episode into the the second, the last 4 episodes of the season and think everything's going to be okay. It's not going to work, guys. You can't do that. You can't do filler episodes late in the season. You have to do your filler episodes either in the middle or the beginning, because the end is a race. The end is a sprint to the end. You don't have time for filler then. You shouldn't have time for filler then. So I don't have a problem with some of these filler things, but this season still wasn't good. Like, even if you take the typical stuff out, it still wasn't good, and that's just anyway. As a viewer, I don't understand enough about the Speed Force to know if Cisco, a non-speedster, should be able to modify a gun that he didn't build in order to free Jay. But it doesn't feel like it makes sense. And it took Savitar centuries to get out of the prison. He needed the Philosopher's Stone to do it. Speaking of, what was the point of blowing up Star Labs with the Philosopher's Stone? And why was the team surprised to find that everything was destroyed, as if the tremors from the Speed Force alone caused all that damage? When did Barry make peace with being trapped in the Speed Force? He was just delivering save the dates for his wedding 5 minutes prior. Like Kriss always says, show me, don't tell me. I need answers, y'all. Y'all are my only hope. Help us out. Sorry, I don't think we can help you with this one, because you're absolutely... Like, her thing about Barry coming to peace with being trapped in the Speed Force... It didn't hit me until she reminded me that he literally did just deliver save the date envelopes 5 minutes before.
Yo,
he's making sure she gets gifts. He's making sure she gets the presents.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'll take that, but he might be trash, dog. Because how do you just the Speed Force needs me, I gotta go.
It's canary.
Talk about
it. Speed Force will call on. You know how it is.
Oh, Barry Allen got cold feet. Barry Allen got
Speed Force.
He got Speed Force cold feet. He's like, oh yeah, Iris, nah, baby, I love you, but the Speed Force, like that kind of be
even Cisco showed more resistance when Commander Cisco, when the ancients called him, when the aliens in the wormhole called him, he showed a little bit more resistance.
Right, man.
This dude was like, "Yo, I gotta go. You know how Speed Force is. Let me just.
Right.
I'm gonna talk to you in a little bit. Hopefully, if not, yo, we had a great life. Just live your life. You were supposed to marry her, fam. That's why women will go crazy on you because dudes like Barry do dumb shit like that.
Oh my god, yo, yeah. Also, we forgot to mention this. I got one more email. I'll get to this in a minute, but yo, Cisco, bruh. So at one point in the episode, the meaty part of the episode that really just got me eye rolling is when they decide to do the whole, we're going to try to see if, Savitar Barry if we can help him and, we'll kill him with kindness. And I'm just like, you got to be fucking kidding me, right?
But they had to try it. That's who they are.
Hey, you know what? I'll allow it. But here's my question.
Thematically, it made sense.
Yeah, thematically it made sense. So I was like, this is stupid, but okay. But then, like, halfway through them doing this, I started going, I was like, wait, who's guarding Caitlin and Cisco?
Nigga.
So let me get this straight. You have a guy who can open portals to other dimensions. You haven't taken away his powers. He can open a portal at any point. And you're holding him hostage. How? Because you're not there. The only person that can stop him is a speedster. Maybe. Possibly. How? Somebody was like, well, Caitlin is, Killer Frost is guarding him. Really? 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 He opens. Literally, the way that Gypsy saves him is the way I was just like, why don't you just leave?
Savitar has that parent scare. Like, you know how your mom will be like, she's going, she leaves, and you know she's gone, but you know you're going to get your ass whooped if you do anything that she said not to do. That's what Savitar, that's his special power.
Savitar really hit Cisco with and by the time I get back, that trash better be taken out, dinner better be on the fucking table. Don't make me, I'm telling you, boy, don't you make me put the fucking suit on.
Take the chicken out of the freezer, like I said, and don't tell me you forgot when I get home. Don't take it out when you hear my car pull up. Take it out 30 minutes before I get home.
I'm just like, yo, I'm like, Cisco, you're in a prison with no walls. How? Now you could go with he was afraid that, he was just there to protect Caitlin, but then you just tell Caitlin, hey, Caitlin, you do know I can leave at any point. The reason why I'm staying is because Savitar threatened to kill you. Not to kill me. He kills me. He can't have his device built. So why would I stay? Oh, he threatened to kill you. You're done. There's nothing there anymore. You're like that huge fucking plot hole right there because it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
The only thing I can think of to combat that is he knew he had the magical revelation that he could build the cannon to get Jay out, so that's why he stayed to build it so that he could get Jay out. I still don't know how he devised that, how he had advanced speed force.
This is the dude who built an absolute zero gun. I'm with it.
Yeah, fuck it, we'll take it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna diminish his intelligence, but I was just like, damn, this off week, Julian got a cure. You learned about the intricacies of the Speed Force.
But wait a minute. But let's go. But let's go with that.
Yo, off week studying, bro. I'm with it.
But let's go with that then. Let's go with the idea that, he stayed there to finish the gun. Nigga, just take the gun with you. So goddamn stupid. Like every time you're trying to think of a way to make an excuse for something they did in this episode, you can think of 5 other ways to go, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like, nigga, take the gun with you. Oh man. I didn't know I couldn't do that. What the fuck? All right, last email. Russell says, what's happening, guys? I want to start this out on a positive note. You guys do a great job. I've been listening to recaps ever since you guys started doing them. Keep up the good work. Now to this episode. I came into this episode feeling that it wasn't going to be that good, but I had some hope. We all did. I knew that HR switched with Iris because they gave a hint when they showed Barry used the converter in the previous episode. My problem is how the switch was played out. I think that's how all of us feel about that. It was kind of whack and lazy. That's pretty much what I thought about the whole entire season. part of the reason and part of the this whole episode and part of this season. Whack and lazy. Cisco not vibing when he was captured by Savitar. Whack. Barry phasing the Savitar's suit and destroying it. He couldn't do that 10 episodes ago. Whack and lazy. The way they explained the Speed Force. Lazy. There was so much wrong with the episode, but I told myself I would keep this rant short. I really like the show, and this won't stop me from watching it, but me liking it so much is why I'm so disappointed. Without seeing Arrow yet, I know that this is by far the weakest finale of the Arrow universe. I mean, come on, yo. We're gonna have Deathstroke, Captain Boomerang, and a Nyssa versus Talia fight. Like, I don't. Maybe somehow Arrow shocks us and it's trash, but okay. I'm not betting.
That's the thing, though, and that's part of the problem is that they're up against a resurgent season of Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
What the more fair comparison is, let's do this side by side with Arrow season 3.
Yeah. And here's the thing.
I think that they both cases the writer tried some different shit. It didn't quite land.
Valid, but I still think season 3 of Arrow was much better.
Oh no, it was better. I think it was better too. But I also think that season 3 of Arrow wasn't as ambitious as this tried to be. This tried to be a time paradox where he's his own villain, like on 3 different meta levels.
Yeah, and they were never going to do it right because, like, I don't think we even said this at the end of last season's reviews. When they said they were going to do Flashpoint, was like, everybody else was excited, and me and you were just like, I don't know about that, man. That doesn't. I don't know how that's going to work, and I think that bears out in how they did it. Ambitious, and I'll always give them credit for trying, but man, let's see. I try not to be too critical that being that I read the comics, but even people I know who don't read comics didn't like this episode. Like, here's the thing. I don't think in this case is us being too critical of the comic book, because I think this is a problem that I think most shows don't have, which is they can do a lot of things from the comics here, but I think this season of The Flash did one of the things that keeps comic books out of the hands of regular people, in that it gets too far ahead of itself and it makes too much of a mess. And as comic book
Here's a quick question. What was the jumping on point this season for a new viewer?
Yeah.
It's completely inaccessible.
Yeah.
And I think the reset next season with Wally as the Flash, and they're so shocking, they're not firing Grant fucking Gustin.
Right.
So he'll be back. Probably end of episode 1, start of episode 2.
Right.
And I bet he comes back. You know what they're going to do? They're going to do, I think it was season 5 of Buffy, where they bring her back from being dead. And at the end of the first episode, she says, I wasn't in hell, I was in heaven. I was completely at peace.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to come back.
I remember that. That show was so official, man.
That show was great. I can talk about that all day.
Yeah. I have hope that they can do better next season. Again, thanks for your recaps this season. You guys bring up good points and other things I missed. Speaking of The Flash, did you guys read the Button crossover thoughts? I thought the fight between Batman and Reverse Flash was great. Anyway, I love the show. I haven't finished reading it, but I know that Deep and I will probably pick this up in a couple of weeks when we do our we're going to do our Super Tuesday recap on comic books. So we get caught up on some of that stuff and do that there.
9 panel grids, bitch. 9 panel grids. Sorry.
Yeah. One more thing I got to do. It goes right back to where we started here with HR dying. Here's the other thing too. You want to make this really, and this goes back to what they were doing with forcing that HR Tracy Brand relationship so early on, and it doesn't work. It doesn't sell because it was so rushed. So Tracy being upset and like, you killed the only man I love. You just met the man. You don't really go here. Whose man is this? Like,
I've slow cooked, like a Boston butt that took longer than they've known each other.
I'm like, are you
a 48-hour Boston butt? I'll have more affinity for that because it's delicious, also, than she should have for HR.
I was just like, yo, are we serious? But beyond that, here's the other problem too. And again, it goes back to writing, timing, and how they do things. If you want me to feel bad about HR dying and you want me to feel the impact of that, what you cannot do is bring Harry, his doppelganger from Earth 2, into the same episode and literally have Barry look to Harry and go, can you tickle around a little bit longer? They're going to need you. Motherfucker, come on.
So obtuse.
Come on, man.
Like, how insensitive. Yo, Barry's trash, dog. Like, I'm sorry. Y'all can't take me off this list. Barry's trash. How insensitive can you be to bring in the Yo, y'all both look alike. But,
you the real Wells who wanted
black person to see what's going on in the world. You work with a bunch of white people. They're like, so did you hear what happened at the BET Awards? No, I didn't. I didn't watch it. Why are you asking me?
Like,
you know what? I took it a different way. I took it as a transition dog. You know, when your dog's getting a little old, you got to bring in another dog so you don't. Because, he's a transition Harry. What?
God.
Transition Wells.
Oh my God. They literally went back to the they went back to the same well.
I hate you. I knew you were
Look. I am completely
8.5 out of 10 that joke. 8.5 out of 10.
I'm disgusted.
I quit the podcast. That joke is it.
I am disgusted that I made that joke. All right, I'm disgusted at myself for making the joke, but I had to. Like, but it's just like, but again, forgetting all Barry being, but just on the show itself, you undercut an emotional tie that you already were struggling to make. Like, we were already like again, I liked HR, but a lot of people didn't. And you need to be able to, when you write a season, you need to be able to have feelers out for what the pulse of the audience is. And if people are not liking HR, you need to be able to sell that more. And they didn't do it. And then you literally come in and you bring in the Wells that everybody wanted to begin with to replace them. It's just like, what the fuck were you guys thinking? Like, yeah, man, whoever these replacement writers were this season, I don't know. But then you got to get the fuck out of here, man. Like, I don't know, man. I'm really disappointed with this season of The Flash. And I would have been disappointed with the overall season to begin with, but I thought at the very least the season finale could win me over. And while they get big picture themes, they just couldn't get the details. And the devil's in the details with all these shows, particularly when you're you're up against a show like Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was so detail oriented for 22 episodes. And Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. proves you don't have to have a filler episode. And you can do a long season and still hit your notes. Yo, like, you gotta bring your A game. Same thing with Arrow. Arrow did 23 episodes and was way better. Like, they just got to do better, man. This is a really disappointing season and a really, really terrible season finale. And I'm saying this as a person, like, everybody knows how we feel about The Flash and how on we are about this stuff. And this is just overall just completely disappointing. So.
Yeah, I appreciate their ambition, but they could have played it safe and had a so-so season, or try to reach for the stars and have an awesome season. They fell on their face. It happens with every popular CW series. There's always a season where you're like, oh man. But they tried. I can say, as somebody who's been watching everything, we haven't seen Arrow yet, but I think Arrow can fall into a great season finale at this point. Like, at this point, there's only something we don't see could foul it up. If these same writers are on Arrow, that's the only way it could have been fouled up for the finale. But I can say that I never thought I'd say this, but out of the four, this has to be, and I'm already projecting Arrow like we're projecting the NBA Finals. I'm projecting Arrow as good.
Yeah.
This is the worst one. If you would have bet money, you'd have my money right now. And you'd have a lot, because I would have put a lot down. That Flash wouldn't be the worst out of the four. It is, yo.
This is LeBron's game 3 against Boston. Things happen.
The Flash
Shit
had
happens.
the Flash caught.
Just you couldn't get in rhythm. Never really hit their stride. The thing is, if you take a step back on the season, and I know we're getting into here, and we're getting trying to record.
I'm just gonna add Justin to the season.
They do a lot of shit that we wanted them to do. Mm-hmm. We got Wally in the suit. We got Jesse running. We got the team running together. We got Gorilla City. Broad strokes, not bad. But when you look too close, when you look closely, it all falls apart.
They're Icarus.
Look at the forest for the trees. Because the forest, if you say in a vacuum, this season's going to give you Kid Flash, Jesse Quick, and Gorilla City, including, but not limited to, Barry knocking out a gorilla.
Mm-hmm. High level is great.
He's going to fight a future version of himself and try to change his own destiny. All those things sound like good ideas. Now go do them. That's where the stumble came.
They're selling you a Maserati with 300,000 miles and telling you not to look under the engine. Don't worry, it's fine.
I flipped that bitch for parts. What you talking about, man?
Right. Bring it to the chop shop. Bring it to the chop shop. Go
Make it happen. Make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I said. It's just. I enjoy them. I enjoy them trying, and I think it's good. But they got to do the same thing Arrow did when they came. Like Stephen Amell came out and was like, "Yeah, we hear you. We're gonna come back to the basics," and that's what they did with season 5. And season 5's been great. That's what they need to do with this. Give us when they come. If Barry comes back, he needs to be Hero Barry. He needs to be the Barry that we.
The reason I think you're going to get what you wanted for the last 2 episodes there, or excuse me, for the 3rd time this season, because it happened in Abracadabra episode 2, the bad guy for next season has been mentioned.
Yeah.
DeVoe.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the thinker. It's not a speedster. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. So, all right, folks. So there you guys have it. That's our review for The Flash. Find the rest of the reviews on Super Tuesday Recap. Hit us up with email us at mtrailerreviews@mtrnetwork.net. Excuse me. If you have other thoughts about this, we'll read on the Arrow podcast we do on Sunday. We also hear us soon. Justin just joined our meeting, and we'll get him on in a minute. We're going to be talking about Secret Empire. We're going to be breaking down that stuff in a minute, and Jeff's going to be on here with us as well for that. And then we'll be back in a couple weeks to talk about more comic book stuff. We'll get to a lot of stuff that I just haven't been able to read, and we'll get caught up on that stuff. So do it all there. So again, guys, thank you very much for listening, and we are wrapping up. Arrow's the last one, and then we'll be done with our seasons. And then we'll go into waiting to see what goes on. Well, I guess it's August for Defenders, and then September for Inhumans. So we'll be right back at it. So, all right, folks. Thank you guys very much for listening. Until next time, we're out of here. Peace.